She calls on me for everything. I don't know whose body it is. I don't know who else's body would be in the house.
This is Candace Craig. She is 44 years old, and for the last several years, she has been her 71-year-old mother's primary caregiver. Her mother's name is Margaret, and Margaret is missing. What Candace doesn't know is that detectives found Margaret before they sat down to ask a single question.
I know I heard my grandmother scream, but she always screamed. Like when she used to fall and stuff, she would always scream. So I asked my mother, what is that? She said that the boyfriend did have something over, but all I heard was a scream. So I really don't know.
2 separate rooms. 2 separate detectives. The same story running out of time. Margaret Craig was 71 years old. Her family called her Auntie Joyce. She had survived multiple strokes. She needed daily care medication, mobility, her colostomy bag managed every morning. Her world had narrowed to a few rooms and a phone that rang when family thought to call. She knew something was wrong with her bank account. Strange charges were appearing: DoorDash, Lyft, services she had never used. She called the bank herself to report it. She told them her name and asked for help. That phone call, an elderly woman, confused and frightened, trying to protect what she'd spent a lifetime earning, is the last independent act we have record of. By the night of May 23rd, Margaret Craig was dead. The person who killed her was the same person who managed her medication, cooked her meals, and answered when she knocked on the wall. On June 2nd, 2023, a welfare check brought officers to a home in Maryland. What they found inside was not a missing person. It was a crime scene. Human remains dismembered, bagged, in the basement. A chainsaw, a knife, blood on the floor. 3 white trash bags, one open, contents visible. The suspect was Candace Craig, 44. She opened the door and let them in. Her 19-year-old daughter Salia Hardy was in the house at the same time. Both were taken to separate rooms. Both were asked what happened to Margaret. This is those 2 sessions. Before we go into either room, here's what the detectives already have. Physical: human remains in trash bags in the basement. A chainsaw, a knife, cutting materials, a chainsaw cover, blood stains, cleaning materials. Detectives didn't need to search. The smell reached them before they cleared the front door. Digital: an Amazon order placed in Margaret's name after the date Margaret died. The order: a chainsaw. Salia will find this herself in her own account history while she's sitting in that room. Financial: Margaret had a Capital One account. Candace has access to it. She will tell the detective this herself. What she won't tell him: Margaret had been calling the bank to report fraudulent purchases, large ones made in her name. In some calls, a younger woman claimed to be Margaret to approve transactions. In others, an older woman, the real Margaret, called to flag them as theft. The thief and the victim were both calling the same bank about the same account. Forensic: the body found in those bags had been dead for at least 2 to 4 days. The detective will use this timeline against Salia directly on camera because Salia's story requires Margaret to have been alive on Tuesday morning. The forensic timeline says otherwise. Behavioral: Salia told her mother that morning she was going to work. She passed her grandmother's room. She says she heard snoring. The detective will ask her whether what she heard was snoring or something else. Every one of these pieces of evidence will appear in the interrogation footage. Now watch what happens when Candace and Salia try to build a story around a version of events that none of these pieces support.
So when was the last time you seen your grandmother? On Tuesday, before I left to go to work. And you saw her last on, around what time was that when you went to work? Was it 11:30 in the morning? Yeah, before I went to work. Was she okay? Like, I had to check on her to let her know I was going to work. Where was she at? She was laying down. In her room? Yeah. Okay. When you said you checked on her, was something wrong with her? No, I guess she was just sleeping.
That last phrase, "I guess she was just sleeping," is doing something specific. She's not describing what she saw. She's offering an interpretation of what she didn't quite see. Remember it. The detective will come back to it.
And you said you last saw your mother on Monday? Yeah, we put some stuff on the grill and took some food to her room. Where did you see her? In the house. Yeah, we took some food to her bedroom. We put some hamburgers on the grill and chicken.
Watch her body. She's touching her neck. Now her back. She settles, then touches again. This pattern will repeat every time the conversation approaches the timeline of May 23rd. The grill detail is offered almost casually as domestic normalcy. She's embedding the thing that will eventually destroy her story inside a sentence about dinner. The detective at this stage is doing something practiced. He's letting her build the alibi herself. He hasn't challenged a single detail. He's giving her rope. The more specific she gets, the grill, the chicken, the hamburgers, the harder those specifics are to walk back later.
But is that normal for you? Like if you came home and didn't see your grandmother for 3 or 4 days, Would you think that was normal or was that abnormal?
No, that's not normal. The normal, but she been telling me how she did it before, but I never knew that she did it before.
Okay, because normally you're just seeing her every day when you come home from work or when you're leaving the house.
Yeah.
So you
She's mostly in her room all the time.
This is the first crack. Candace's alibi depends on Margaret having a history of disappearing. Salia just said, without any pressure, she never actually saw that. The history Candace is citing the twice before, the pattern isn't something Salia can personally verify.
What is the condition of your mother? She had a couple strokes, diabetic. She was showing signs of early dementia, but not really diagnosed. The doctor never diagnosed her. She didn't want to go.
The undiagnosed dementia is the most important piece of language in this session so far. Not because it's a lie it may be medically accurate, but because of its strategic function. An undiagnosed condition is one no doctor can contradict. She has just built a wall between her story and any medical record that could challenge it. And she's touching her neck again. Every time the vulnerability of her position increases, every time she has to make her mother sound more confused, more likely to wander, her body registers something her words don't.
Notice in the last 4 or 5 days any like normal transactions?
She has not made nothing. She doesn't have a credit card, so it's nothing. And she can't remember her passwords. Her book, where she has all her passwords, was on the bed.
Like what kind of account?
Capital One.
So she got Capital One.
Yes.
And you haven't noticed any transactions on her Capital One card?
The only transactions that was made, that I made them. She didn't make anything.
Stop. She just disclosed two things. She controls Margaret's Capital One account, and all recent transactions were made by her. She volunteered this. She wasn't pressed. This disclosure is the foundation the financial fraud evidence will sit on. She has handed the detective a confession to the financial element of this case, while telling him about a missing person. Notice what the detective does with this nothing yet. He files it. He moves forward. A less skilled detective interrupts here and challenges the bank access. This detective understands the alibi phase isn't where you press. You collect. You let the story complete itself. The pressing comes later, when the story has nowhere left to go.
It just seems strange that I know that you said previously, like, she did it like twice or 3 times in the past. But this has been for about 5 days. So this doesn't seem strange to you?
She was gone 3 days before, so I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna pop up at the end of the day, but that never happened. So I said, if she doesn't pop up, I told some family members, if she's not here by 72 hours, I'm gonna file a report.
That's when my concern will kick in. She has just told the detective investigating her mother's disappearance that her concern hasn't kicked in yet. She's been gone by her own count more than 72 hours. The logic she's offering requires the audience to accept that Candace Craig, who describes herself as the person her mother calls for everything, isn't concerned about a 5-day absence of a stroke survivor with early dementia. She also can't name anyone Margaret went to. No friend. No location. No way to verify the story that required no concern. What Candace has built here is an alibi with no supporting character. Margaret simply walked out the door, alone, to somewhere unnamed, in a condition that makes independent travel unlikely.
What is kind of fill me into what's going on?
My daughter saw her on Tuesday. She said she was in the bathroom, dumping her colostomy bag, and her grandma come out her room, and then she went out the front door.
Yeah, we going to work.
Was she okay? Like,
I had to check on her to let her know I was going to work.
Where was she at?
She was laying down.
In her room?
Yeah.
When you said you checked on her, was something wrong with her?
No, I thought she was just sleeping.
Here is the fault line in the shared story. Candace says Salia saw Margaret come out of her room and go out the front door. Salia says she heard something she guessed was snoring. Those two accounts cannot both be true. Candace needs a witness to a living person. Salia's version offers something much more ambiguous.
And I know she went grilling. She tried to grill.
Like when you like barbecue?
I know she tried to grill.
Did I eat any of that food, or she just grilled and didn't bring nothing in?
No, she just grilled.
Okay.
I smelled it, but I just didn't see no.
But you didn't see no food and not like that from her? Okay.
She smelled it. She didn't see food. She heard her mother was grilling, but there was nothing to eat. This is the grill detail arriving from Salia's perspective, and it's already wrong. The smoke a neighbor reported on May 27th, for days after Margaret died, wasn't barbecue. What Salia smelled without seeing food was the attempt to dispose of her grandmother's remains. She may not have known this consciously, but she registered it. And she's telling the detective now.
So we have some investigators that are at the house now. They conducted they got a court-ordered search warrant to search the house. So they're doing that now.
Watch her face. That is not the face of a woman surprised that a search warrant was issued for her missing mother's house. That is the face of a woman who knows exactly what a search warrant of that house will find. In this subface, notice what she doesn't do. She doesn't ask, what did they find? She doesn't ask, is my mother okay? The questions a person would ask if they were genuinely unaware those questions don't come. Her face closes instead of opening. She's not receiving new information. She's managing its arrival.
So right now, what we're investigating, we found a dismembered body. Do you know what dismembered means? Okay, so we found pieces of a body. Pieces like chopped up, like somebody's body was chopped up in bags in the house. I can't say for sure that it's your grandmother. I don't know whose body it is. I don't know who else's body would be in the house, but she's obviously missing at this point. We'll get her. We'll get whoever it is identified, but more than likely, based off of saying that, everybody says that they haven't seen her, it probably is her. So that's what I'm a homicide detective, so that's what I'm investigating.
She doesn't break. That is itself behavioral data. Most people presented with the news that dismembered body parts may be their mother experienced something visible. Shock, denial, tears, a question. What Candace does is stay composed. She manages. Her body touches her neck. Her face holds. Her story doesn't collapse. The reason she doesn't break isn't that she has no feelings about her mother. The reason she doesn't break is that she has already processed this information. She's not hearing it for the first time. She's hearing the detective tell her he knows, and that is a different kind of news.
Because, it's now Friday, so a body, chopped up or whatever, and it would make sense, unless she heard on Monday, it could have been, whatever was going on down there. So that would make sense. But if you're saying that you saw her on Tuesday, and seeing her sleeping, that part wouldn't, it wouldn't go with how long that body would have been, in the bag, you know what I'm saying?
The forensic timeline has now been put to Salia directly. The body had been dead for at least 2 to 4 days when found on Friday. If Margaret died on Monday night when Salia heard the scream, then the Tuesday morning Salia described is the morning after. She didn't see her grandmother sleeping. She saw what her mother had already told her to see. Watch Salia's posture as the detective lays this out. She's been holding herself throughout this session, arms wrapped, contained. She's not fighting the timeline. She's absorbing it. The timeline isn't destroying her story. The timeline is giving her permission to tell the truth.
I was looking at Amazon orders. I saw she ordered a chainsaw.
On what day was this?
I gotta look back on the orders.
Was it this week though?
Yeah, it was this week. I know she ordered a chainsaw, and I was asking, what is it for? She didn't really tell me.
Let that sit for a moment. Salia found the chainsaw order herself. In her own account. She wasn't told by the detective. She discovered it while looking at her own Amazon history and found her grandmother's name on an order placed after her grandmother was dead. That is not a planted detail. That is not a detective's accusation. That is Salia finding the evidence herself, in her own hands, in the room where her grandmother was murdered. Notice what she doesn't do after the discovery. She doesn't explain it away. She doesn't offer a reason her grandmother would have ordered a chainsaw this week. The cover story stops exactly where the evidence begins. The detective doesn't push at this moment. He received the information he needed. He marks it. He moves. The chainsaw order in Margaret's name, placed by Candace after Margaret's death to acquire the tool used to dismember her, that thread is now in the session record. From Salia's own mouth, without a single accusation.
Today she was just texting me, I love you. So when she's telling me that she loves me, that means something really bad happened. Or she did something.
Is that abnormal for her, or normally when something's going wrong, that's what she only tells you?
Something goes wrong.
When was the last time she said that to you or something went wrong? What happened with that?
She normally says I love you, so...
You just knew something was up because she was saying
I was at work, she was telling me the police is here, I love you, and I was still calling her phone, she didn't.
She just decoded her own mother's behavioral tell. I love you deployed specifically in moments of crisis. Not affection is Candace's distress signal. Every time Candace felt exposed, she sent love to her children. Not because she was feeling tender, because she was covering something. Salia recognized this. She's recognized it for years. And she's just told a detective exactly what the signal means. Margaret Craig spent years in that house. She called the bank to report money disappearing from her own account. She was told it was her daughter. She stayed. She kept asking where the money went. She got quieter. She got depressed. And one night in May, she asked for the last time. That is what the I love you was covering.
Yeah, we took some food to her bedroom. We had put some hamburgers on the grill and chicken.
She described a domestic evening grilling dinner, bringing food to Margaret's room. Salia described smelling the grill but seeing no food. A neighbor reported black smoke on May 27, 4 days after Margaret died. The grill that produced that smoke was not cooking hamburgers and chicken. The smoke was the first attempt to dispose of what was in those trash bags in the basement. The detective hasn't told Candace this yet. He's let her maintain the grill story through the full alibi construction. This is the staging hierarchy in operation. Let the suspect own the detail, let the detail become specific, then introduce the evidence that makes the detail catastrophic. The more specific Candace made the grill story hamburgers, chicken, her mother's room, the more damaging it will be when the real purpose of that grill is established.
The only transactions that was made, that I made them, she didn't make anything.
She has voluntarily confirmed she made all transactions on Margaret's account. What she doesn't know is that the bank has records of Margaret calling to report those transactions as unauthorized. 2 women calling the same bank about the same account, one approving purchases, one reporting them stolen. Candace has just placed herself at the center of the financial fraud the detectives are now building a motive around. Her tone on this line is what's striking. Not defensive, matter of fact, as if controlling her mother's finances is so normal a fact of their relationship that it requires no explanation. She has lived inside this arrangement so long it no longer registers as suspicious to her. That normalization is itself behavioral data.
I just want to clarify. So you said that you heard your grandmother's scream on Monday night, but you still saw her on Tuesday morning? And you're sure that she was snoring and not like, and you just didn't like, you know what I mean?
I heard a noise, so I guess she was snoring.
Okay, so you're
So
sure?
I told her that I was leaving out. I didn't hear
But she didn't respond back to you.
No.
So she very well could have not been alive at that point. Okay, were y'all close? Okay.
She very well could have not been alive at that point. The detective says it quietly, without accusation, as a possibility being placed on the table between 2 people trying to understand something terrible. And Salia doesn't object. She doesn't deny it. She sits with it. The thing she has been unable to say out loud since Monday night, that what she heard screaming in that basement was her grandmother, and that what she heard snoring the next morning was silence, that thing has now been said by someone else, in her presence. And it's true.
Do you need any water or anything? Yeah. Need anything to eat, anything like that? Yeah. We have snacks and stuff. Yeah. What do you eat? Like, are you allergic to anything?
pineapple.
Okay. All right, I'll be right back.
She's been holding herself this entire session, arms wrapped around her own body. She's been doing the only thing available to her, containing whatever is inside her while trying to decide how much of it she owes the detective, how much she owes her mother, how much she owes her grandmother. Then she picks up the fruit cup. That small act, reaching for the thing the detective left her, is the behavioral marker of a decision made. She was fed, and in accepting the food, she accepted the role of someone cooperating with the people who gave it to her. Not manipulation, not coercion. Just a 19-year-old who had been holding something unforgivable for 10 days and needed someone to give her permission to put it down. Salia Hardy was 19 years old when her grandmother was killed. She was in the house. She heard the scream. She was shown the bin. She was told to help. She was given a chainsaw. She did what her mother told her to do, not because she wanted to, but because the only script she had ever been handed for survival in that house was, do what Candace says, and she will tell you she loves you. She knew what those words cost. She helped anyway.
I know I heard my grandmother scream, but this was Monday. Now I know I was screaming, but she always screamed. Like when she was to fall and stuff, she would always scream. So I asked my mother, what is that? She said that the boyfriend did something over, but all I heard was a scream. So I really don't know why.
So you heard her scream on Monday night, and then you woke up, or was you in your room?
I was already up.
Oh, so you was already up in your room? And then you came out of your room actually?
No, my mom, she came in my room. I was like, who's that screaming? She was like, bending knocked something over, but it didn't sound like bending knocked over something, because she was in the basement, I couldn't really hear anything.
So you heard her scream basically from her room, and then your mother came in your room, and shortly after, and she said that it was Benny had knocked over something.
Yeah.
You just didn't think twice about it.
Yeah, because she always, when she falls, she screams.
Okay.
Listen to the structure of that last sentence. She was in the basement. I can't really hear anything. She's been saying this since the first minutes of the session, but now the meaning has inverted. Before, I can't really hear anything from the basement meant she might not have heard what was happening. Now, after the detective has told her what was in those bags, after she's processed the forensic timeline, after she found the chainsaw order in her own account, the same sentence means something else. She heard it. She knew what it was. And she told herself she couldn't hear. Margaret Craig is the name that has sat underneath this entire session without being spoken directly. She exists in the body in the bags, in the scream Salia couldn't explain, in the bank calls no one mentioned until now, in the grill smoke a neighbor reported, in the colostomy bag Salia managed the morning after her grandmother was killed. She was 71. She called her daughter for everything. She trusted the wrong person with everything she had. Salia Hardy pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact. She was sentenced to 5 years of supervised probation. She testified against her mother at trial about the stealing, the confrontation, the night of May 23rd, the chainsaw, the grill, every attempt to undo what had already been done. When asked why she helped cover it up, she said, because her mother asked her to. That answer is not an excuse. It's not a defense. It is the most precise description available of what it meant to be raised by Candace Craig. Her mother asked. She complied. The same mechanism that put a chainsaw in her hands in a basement in May was the same mechanism that put her in a courtroom in her mother's against her mother. Candace asked. Salia answered. Differently, this time. Candace Craig was found guilty. The court described Margaret as a giving, caring, loving woman provided for, respected, until she wasn't. Candace Craig was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She sits in prison now. Her family is still trying to understand how the person who was described as the devoted daughter, the dedicated caregiver, the person Margaret called for everything, how that person was also the one who ended her. The answer to that question is in this footage. It's in the caregiver framing delivered in the same register as the body denial. It's in the I love you, used as a crisis signal rather than an expression of love. It's in the alibi that required her daughter to have seen something her daughter never actually saw. Candace Craig did not become a different person on the night of May 23rd. She had been building toward it for years. The interrogation room just gave us the first undisguised look at who she already was. If this kind of analysis is what you're here for, subscribing means you'll see the next one.